Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. I got this old axe head, popped out the handle. Originally I was going to weld it to this piece of plate here, and then just drill some holes and screw that into a piece of wood. And then I saw on YouTube some guys putting the axe head in the bottom of a bucket so it's contained when you hit the kindling in there. And then I was looking at my scrap steel pile here and found this old weight. I think it is mild steel, so I think I can weld to it. I don't think it's cast. And it fits perfectly in that bucket. And then I'll weld this to that. And then I can sit that in there, hit the kindling, and it'll stay in the bucket. So I'm gonna get this axe head cleaned up, probably smooth out the edge there so it can sit flatter on that weight, and go from there. Alright, so let's talk about some welding real quick. If you're new to welding, I'm going to share a couple tips with you that I've learned. And this isn't really a good example. This is kind of a little thick for this welder to handle, so we're going to have to make a few passes on it. But in general, being obsessive compulsive in welding goes a long way. And what I mean by that is making sure your metal surfaces are clean. Get all the mill scale off there, get all the dirt off there, get all the paint off there. If you take your time in welding prep, you will save yourself some time in the future. Most welders are going to tell you how to weld the thickness of material. You got to just kind of follow directions. You got to understand what kind of wire you have, what your welder's capable of. My welder, for example, is a Lincoln Pro MIG 175. It's an older welder, but most welders today have a chart to follow. It has the process that you're using, the welding wire that you're using, and the gas that you're using to shield it, if you're using gas. Now you can go to flux core, but I'm not going to explain all that. You can learn that somewhere else. So I just got to follow this diagram and figure out which thickness of material I'm using. Now, like I said, this is a little thick for this little welder, so we're going to have to make a few passes. But in all the welding that I've done over the years, I can honestly say I have not made anything that has failed. Everything structurally that I've welded has held up, and I've used this welder. I've made that firewood rack, I've made some other attachments for my equipment, made a 4-way wedge for a splitter. The list goes on. So I'll set you up and we'll get to welding this. Alright, so we got everything cleaned, we got everything set up. I love using these magnets. Sometimes you put your ground clamp on there, it can twist on you, so make sure you got everything ready to go before you tack it. But tack welding's great because you can always cut them off if you get out of plumb or it's not square. So we're going to take a couple tacks and put them on the corners there, and then we'll go from there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's pretty gummed up there. So I'll show you what these pliers are made for, these welding pliers. You can stick it in that bottom, kind of turn it, clean all that gunk off there, all that built up slag. Now normally you don't have to do this with regular MIG wire like I'm using, gas shielded. If you're flux core welding, no matter what, there's always like a little bead on the end of your wire there. I like to cut that off because it reduces splatter right in the beginning. Like I said, I'm pretty obsessive compulsive when it comes to welding, but it really does help. Alright, we got it tacked in place here. You can see I went from this corner to the opposite side. I don't like to do the same side because sometimes if you do that it can tilt. The hot metal can grab it and twist it. So same thing with welding. You never want to just weld something all the way on this side without tacking it because you can pull it one way or the other. So now we'll get a good bead in here and then we'll take a look at them. Alright, showing my welds on YouTube, not bad for a guy that taught himself. So you just want to kind of do little C's with that gun and the wire back and forth, and like I said, I'm watching that puddle. Or you can go back and forth. When I was first starting out, I just went back and forth like this, making sure I'm dragging that puddle up to touch each surface. This metal and that metal. I'm just dragging that puddle of hot weld back and forth. So now we'll do a bead around here and around the back, and then we'll build up this some more. Alright, there's what we got. Looks pretty cool. Now that's going to set right in that bucket. I'm going to throw a coat of paint on it. Now I should have welded a couple more passes here, but I'm really not going to worry about it right now because I ran out of welding wire and I don't have any on hand. That's always fun. Maybe some other time I'll show you how to change out your welding wire. That can always be an adventure the first time you do it. So let's throw a coat of paint on this and then we'll test it out. Alright, so here it is. Here's the final product. The paint's dry. It's amazing what a little bit of spray paint will do. So I'll be able to set it on that board and use it if I want to, or like I said, I can put this whole thing in the bucket and self-contain the mess. So I'll set you guys up. We'll split it both ways and we'll end the video. Alright, there you have it. That is my new DIY kindling cracker from stuff that I had here laying around. A 10-pound steel weight and an old axe head. a few minutes of my time and to get to share it with you all. I want to thank you for watching. It's pretty enjoyable now. I'm going to keep doing this for a while, get some inventory here on Kindling. If you aren't subscribed, please do so. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Give us a like, and I'll see you on the next video.